So last year was the first year that NACE came to Detroit, and Bud Danker, an executive at Penske Corp, was kind enough to come and to talk to this crowd. And there's twice as many people for you than there was for Bud last year. So a great turnout.
Bud's part of signing my paycheck, so why don't we just keep that one
for now. We'll keep that. So Brad, you're a Michigan boy. So obviously this is the automotive aftermarket, collision and mechanical industry here. So tell us about your upbringing in Michigan and the importance of the total automotive industry being at the heart of Detroit and what that's meant to you.
Absolutely, Bill. Well, I think first off, there's probably a few people who are saying, Brad, why are you here today? And I'd like to say there's quite a few reasons. One, I'm part of Team Penske, which is partners with PPG, as you can tell by the video, and we've had a few tremendous seasons in a row here that we're very, very proud of. But I also just so happen to be from Detroit, and so is Team Penske. Penske Corp, which is the headquarters of Penske's global operations. I'm sure a lot of people know of Penske with their many business interests across the globe, but it's really just up the road here. It's about 15 to 20 minutes north of here, and so am I, about the same distance. I'm from Rochester Hills, which is about 20-25 minutes north of here, so it feels very natural. Of course, I drive for Ford, which has their headquarters about another 10 or 15 minutes the other way here in Dearborn. And even a little bit deeper than that, a lot of people don't know this, but I actually went to school at a vocational school for auto body. So I have a lot of interest in this particular side of the business and own my own business, which has its own body shop. So as it just so happens, this seems like the perfect fit for a place for me to speak today, and I'm glad and proud to be here.
So talk about the family business. Obviously, you're a well-established driver today, but talk about the roots with your dad and brother, and how the family got started in this business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Detroit, a few people know the area, I'm sure, in the room, but for those that don't, obviously Detroit is perhaps the automotive capital of the world, and my family is Polish, Keselowski, Polish, immigrated here from Poland through Pennsylvania and the East Coast to work for this guy by the name of Henry Ford in the early teens, 19 teens. But they came here for a job, for opportunity. Of course, the Depression struck, a whole bunch of other things happened. And my grandfather ended up becoming a machinist and so forth. And after World War II was over, was looking for a way to kind of get out his energy and got into racing. So he got into racing as hill climbs, motorcycle, snowmobile type stuff up here. Got injured really badly and said, you know what, maybe I ought to quit riding and driving, and decided he wanted to get into this new thing called NASCAR. 1940s, late 1940s, NASCAR was founded, and so my grandfather actually started a team, owned a team for a while. My dad took it over along with my uncle in the 1970s, and had a small team that didn't compete nationally, but competed locally. And so I grew up essentially watching them race. Summers were traveling to the racetrack or going to the race shop and doing whatever I could as a kid to get in the way and cause a lot of trouble, which if they were here, they would tell you was a lot. But that was my upbringing and kind of a racing background. So I'll also never forget the first time, being in the race shop and seeing my dad and uncle work on the cars and eventually paint them and do all the clean-up, touch-up work after a race. And I always kind of had that addiction to it. That was always my favorite part, was the auto body part. So it's a tie that runs deep with my family.
Oh, good. And I guess it could be the third generation team now. You're a proud new father of Scarlett Grace, just a couple months old now.
Yeah,
huh?
I know. She's 2 months old. Just had a daughter, which is an incredible experience. I hope she doesn't end up with a guy like me one day. But still very, very lucky.
She'll start driving. We were with John Force last night, and he's got a couple daughters that are following his lead.
I definitely hope she doesn't end up with a guy like John.
Yeah.
We love John.
We wouldn't wish that on you. So you mentioned, obviously, Roger and what he's meant to Michigan and all that. So why don't you tell, I think everyone is well aware of Roger Penske. Why don't you tell us what it's really like working for him?
What's it like working for Roger? Well, Roger has taught me a lot, but he's taught me one thing that is, to me, when anyone asks a question about Roger, always stands out in my mind. And that's Roger's passion for growth. And what does that mean? You know, you use the word growth in this setting. Maybe some people think of business, and believe me, he's committed to growing his business at all times. But what I see about him and what just blows me away can really be personified with one thing. Roger Penske is, what did he turn? I think he just turned 79 or 80. I should know that, but bear with me. But Roger Penske could take his cell phone out of his pocket, pull it out, and use it just as well or better than I can, and I'm 31 years old. And that blows me away.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's the kind of guy Roger is. When a new technology comes out, he's on it, and he's on it right away. He spends all his time, he learns about it, he figures out what he needs to know, gets rid of the junk that doesn't really matter. He is the consummate next level man who always finds the latest and greatest people, the latest and greatest technology, and figures it out. You know, I have a dad who's, or my dad I should say, is younger than Roger, and when he gets his cell phone out, I have to show him how to use the buttons. And I want to tell him that story, like, Dad, you know, Roger's 20 years older than you, and he knows how to use his cell phone. You know, come on, get with the program here. But that's how I would explain Roger, is he knows, he's just on it. He knows everything. When there's something new, he picks it up, because that's how you keep up with the times, and that's how you stay relevant. And Roger Penske is very, very relevant.
Sure is,
and his businesses continue to grow because of that passion, because of that attitude that transcends from the top down.
Yeah. And I guess for those who don't know, you know, Roger didn't inherit a successful business. All of Roger's businesses he built himself, so which is just really amazing.
It's actually very incredible. Whenever I think I'm, you know, working hard or beat, Roger will call me, you know, say, "Hey, Brad, just landed in Germany. What are you up to?"
Yeah.
And it'll be, you know, well, what time is it in Germany? It's, you know, 8 p.m. in East Coast time, and it's you know, 6 in the morning or whatever it might be. Like, wow. I said, well, I didn't sleep last night. I got things to do. You know, so you can tell what kind of guy he is. He's a hard worker.
So Brad, building on that, you know, you now have your own team running in the Truck Series, right?
Yep.
What have you taken through your experiences over the years, and even working with Roger, now that you're the business owner and the guy that's making the decisions? And
it's a lot easier to drive a race car than it is to own a race car, and a lot more profitable too. So, you know, it's tough being a business owner. And honestly, I look at a lot of people out here in the room, and I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you manage the people. It's a constant challenge to keep up with not only the technology but the people. So for me, I'm very fortunate to have some business managers that kind of take out the day-to-day grind, but you get exposed to it at levels and look at it, and it just blows me away how much responsibility it is to you know, not only whatever your prospective customer might be, but to your employees. You know, I figure we have about 40 employees that work for my race team, which is small considered to many of you in the room. But every time I see them, we'll have a gathering, or whether it be a holiday party, Christmas party, or some kind of celebration after a win. And a lot of people will bring their families, you know, their kids or wife or significant other. And I can't help but look at them and think, you know, this job is responsible for those families' livelihood, and that just blows me away. You know, that's the responsibility that you have as a business owner every day. It's not just to yourself or to your customer. It's to those people, and you know, that's to me the hardest part, is trying to make sure I can always take care of those people.
Yeah. So how do you manage your time from being, you know, a full-time race car driver, and really 2 series, because you race in Xfinity, you know, from time to time as well, and to be managed not only the business side of the Truck Series, but the competitive side as well?
Yeah. I mean, it's very, very difficult, and honestly, at this level, as a driver, and this would be the easiest way to explain it, NASCAR is a team sport, and a lot of people don't see that. But as a driver, I feel like I probably get about 90% of the credit, sometimes maybe 95% of the credit. But in reality, I do about 5% of the work. You know, Team Penske has 400 employees that do nothing but work on the race cars that you saw in the video, whether it be the Indy cars, the 2 stock cars. And so those people, every one of them is there for a purpose. You know, they're not there to sell parts to, you know, someone down the street. They're there to make my race cars the fastest they can be, and to get them to stay together in one piece, which is an extreme challenge for them. That's why we have so many people. And if one person makes a mistake, if one person leaves a bolt loose or puts a part on the car the wrong way, or if we're having a pit stop, drops the pit gun or the car the wrong way, all of the work of the 399 other people means nothing. And so that's the teamwork it takes in our sport. Everyone has to get their job right, or every person's job is meaningless.
Sure.
We don't win, we don't run up front. And so from that perspective, to answer your question, Bill, I really rely on my team. And I'm lucky to have a very, very good team at Team Penske.
Yeah. And building on that, obviously, you know, with our relationship we've had with Penske for all the years, we've learned a great deal, and I've learned personally a great deal from Roger and the team. But probably one of the most shining examples, and the story may be a little exaggerated, but I think it's pretty relevant, is Joey Logano in the last race last year. The Jackman missed in the last pit, and the Jack was stuck under the car, and basically that one mistake, you know,
cost him a shot at a championship. Yes, sir.
And the story I hear is Roger personally reached out to the Jackman and said, of the whatever 350 pits you had all season, one bad one, you're still my Jackman. So what happens? First race of the year, Daytona 500. Guess who wins it? Joey Logano, and the Jackman was there. And so I think that's a great story all the way around.
That's Roger's commitment to people. You know, as a person who made a mistake. It cost the team dearly, but he's a great person, and sometimes mistakes happen. You do the best you can to overcome it, and they did. The next race was the biggest race of the year, and they won with the same person.
So when you talk about, you know, the massive team at Penske on the motorsports side, 400 people, when you look at your team, the number 2 team, and your relationship with Paul Wolf, who's been your crew chief since 2010, right? Share with the audience just, you know, the broader team, and then how, on the micro team, how you interact with Paul and your crew, people setting up your car, and take us through a day in the life of.
Yeah, it's difficult for people to understand sometimes when they watch NASCAR, because they see the race cars, and other than, you know, the actual paint and decals on them, which have the you know, brilliant colors, they think they're all the same. They're not. These cars are all drastically different. They're set up specifically for each driver, and sometimes each team has their own small advantages. And so to work those through, it really comes down to a driver and a crew chief. Obviously, as a driver, I have all the responsibility once I sit in that seat. But until I sit in that seat, the crew chief has all the responsibility of preparing a car to its fullest of capabilities. From that perspective, I have Paul Wolf as my crew chief. We've been working together for 5 years. And it's like a modern day working marriage. Every day you have to work at it. Every day you have to communicate. Every day I have to tell him, hey, I was thinking about this. Or I remember when we were working on this a couple months back. How's that going? And without those communications, you don't lead your team the way you need to lead them. Because Paul and I, as a driver and crew chief, set the direction for those 300 some other employees on which way we want to work on our race cars, what we want them to work on that day, what we want them to work on for the next week, month, year. How do we want them to develop our race car to be the fastest it can be? Because they're not all the same. And those developments are really led by the driver and crew chief. So, you know, we have a critical relationship to our success, and I feel very lucky to have a great crew chief with Paul Wolf.
Take us through that when because you know, when you watch it on TV, it looks very simple. And if you're fortunate enough to be at the race or in the pits, and you can see all the stuff that's going on. But behind the seat, when you're making those split-second decisions, take us through, you know, what's going through your mind. Like last year when I talked about the second to last race in the chase last year, and unfortunately you made Jeff Gordon mad, which didn't make me mad, to be honest with you. But take us through that, right? You saw an opening, and your style racing, you went for it.
Well, you know, I think as a race car driver, you know, I owe it to not only myself but my team to lay it all out on the line. And you know, I have the cars and the people around me to win races and championships. I know that. But racing has a lot of adverse conditions. That's what makes it great. That's why we have so many fans that watch it. And those adverse conditions can present themselves in many different ways, whether it be a problem with the car or perhaps a race strategy that doesn't play out. And so when you have an opportunity to strike and to win a race, you got to jump on it. And so, you know, over the course of a few years, I've made a few people mad, maybe ruffled some feathers. There's probably a Jeff Gordon fan or two in here that doesn't like me, but that's okay. Because I'm here to win, and that's my job as a race car driver. And you know, that adversity, it's hard to explain because people look at me sometimes who don't understand racing and say, well, you drive on oval tracks. You know, you make 2 left-hand turns and do it again and again and again. How hard is it to turn left? It's a lot harder than it looks. I'll go ahead and tell you. It's a lot harder than it looks. Just ask me when I have to turn right. But the NASCAR schedule is 38 weeks long, and we compete at tracks in varying lengths and size. We have 4 different types of racetracks. So we compete on road courses where you have to turn left and right, super speedways, which are really big, fast tracks where you have to use drafting and all these crazy techniques. We compete on tracks like Michigan International Speedway just down the road here, about an hour and a half, which is a big, fast, what we call intermediate track. And then we compete on short tracks where the cars are all really tight and beating and banging against each other. And to really explain that to you know, the everyday person, I kind of use a comparison to NFL and maybe like a Peyton Manning or whoever maybe your favorite quarterback is. Here would be Matthew Stafford if you're a Detroit Lions fan. Say, imagine if you took that guy and told him, hey, you know, today you're a quarterback, but next week we're going to take you and we're going to line you up as a wide receiver. We're going to take you and line you up as a running back or a linebacker. Well, that's what it's like in racing, because when you line up at those different types of tracks, it takes a completely different skill set to be successful. And so that challenge is you have to be a very well-rounded race car driver. You have to know a lot of different techniques. And if you're going to be a champion, you've got to be the best at all. So it's very tough, and you know, there's going to be some moments that don't work out, but that's why you got a long, grueling season, and a champion is rewarded for being the best over it.
Do you have a favorite style track? That
you know, people ask me all the time, what are my favorite race? What is my favorite track? Is actually what people ask me. And I always tell them it's the last track I won at, because, you know, maybe I'm a bit selfish. It's like, well, who's your favorite customer? Well, to me, it would be your last customer. He's the last one that took care of your business. But for me, my favorite racetrack is always the last one I won at. So right now it's California.
Yeah, sure.
But, you know, we got a race coming up in Indianapolis this weekend at the Brickyard that we're very excited about. And I'm hoping I leave this weekend saying Indianapolis is my favorite track.
Yeah, good. So do we.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the 2015 season. You're 6th in points right now, about 132 back.
Yep.
Good, successful season. You've won one.
It's been okay. We've been really close to winning more races. NASCAR has their season broke up into a regular season of sorts, then what they call a chase, which is a 10-race finale that determines a champion, much like a playoff of sorts. That'll be starting in the end of September. So right now we're qualified for the playoffs with our win. You had to have a win to get qualified in. So we feel very good about our position. We're not too worried about points or standings, anything of that nature, because we want to be as prepared as we can be come the end of September. But we have races to run right now, so we want to make the most of them as well. But a lot of kind of go big or go home, because it's really either win and nothing else matters right now. So we're not too particularly worried about the standings, but we want to go win the championship. Hopefully we can get our second one this year.
Yeah,
second
absolutely.
win and second
championship. Absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely. So you've got a teammate, Joey Logano, who also wants to win.
Yeah.
So take us through the dynamics of when do you guys work together on the track, and when are you competing against each other?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. It creates some very tough circumstances. But in motorsports, a teammate is important because it expands your horizon. And for us, you know, I go back to what I said about approximately 400 employees at Team Penske. And the great thing about having a teammate is it expands your resources. And for us, that means instead of having maybe 200, 250 employees, we now have 400. And we can work harder developing the car to be the best we can be. And I would tell people who ask me about having a teammate that, well, don't you hate it when you lose to your teammate? I said, yeah, I really do. That really sucks. I hate losing to my teammate. But at the end of the day, I would rather finish second to my teammate than run 15th and beat him. And the reason what that stands for, the reason behind that is when we work together, we can have the two best cars. And when you have the two best cars, we can race amongst ourselves to win. Without working together, we're not going to have very good cars, and we're going to run in the middle of the pack or even in the back of the pack and not be competitive. So it's a tough dynamic because you want to be able to share and be better. But at the same time, quite often you get beat by what you just shared.
Sure.
So it can be tough. You know, Joey won the Daytona 500 this year, which is something we're very proud of. And we were able to win this year in California, like you alluded to earlier. And those were two key wins for us. I'd have liked to won both of them.
Sure.
But very well, we could have won neither of them.
Yeah, super. So besides running your own business and your own team and racing 38 plus whatever number of Xfinity races, it's my understanding you like playing Madden football?
Yeah, I got a little
bit?
video game habit that's hard to break. I'm 31, and now that I have a baby, that's a lot easier to break. Yeah, it seems to always be some attention needed, but yeah, you know, I have a lot of fun. I enjoy the businesses I'm in. I don't have very much time off, but when I do, I have to get away.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so maybe it's because of my generation that I'm a video game guy. I don't know. Maybe I haven't grown up. I hope I never do.
Yeah. So you're playing in the coach before the race to relax a little bit, or?
Video games are great for a race car driver because of the hand-eye coordination. Most of what we do, we make split-second decisions, and if you're off by the least bit, you know, you either don't win or worse yet, you wreck. And you have to have great hand-eye coordination, which requires a lot of training. And to be honest, video games are the best training in the world.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And the majority of the crowd here are independent business owners in the automotive industry. Is there any advice, anything you'd like to share with them on overcoming, you know, any obstacles, whatever, that you could leave with them?
I would go back to what I said about Roger Penske, and that's to never stop growing, to never stop learning, never stop picking up new technologies, new ideas. That, to me, has been the key to not only Roger's success, but my success. Because I know even if I'm successful today, if I go to Indianapolis this weekend and win, we're going to come back to Indianapolis the next year with a new car, with new ideas to be even better. Because if we don't, we won't win. We won't stay relevant. We won't be able to be the best. So for us, it's about never stop learning, never stop growing, and the constant progress is what we stand for. And without that, you can't be the best.